everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host Harris Faulkner and Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth and Fox News contributor and host of The David Webb Show, David Webb. We begin with President Biden, expected to launch his bid for re-election sometime tomorrow. This comes despite dismal polling and Democrats' growing concerns over his age. The images of the now 80-year-old president wandering off and looking confused at White House events appear to have had an impact on at least some voters. A new NBC poll finds that 70% think President Biden should not run again, compared to just 26% who think he should. And of those who said no, 48% said age was the major factor. Even the left-wing media says that President Biden needs to address the elephant in the room. Check out this New York Times editorial board piece calling on him to take voters' concerns about his age seriously. They say this: but candidates shouldn't pretend, as Mr. Biden often does, that advanced age isn't an issue. Mr. Biden is 80 now, the oldest American to serve as president, and even supporters, including the political strategist David Axelrod, have expressed deep worries that his age will be both a political liability in 2024 and a barrier to a successful second term. If Mr. Biden runs again, as he recently said he intends to, questions will persist about his age until he does more to assure voters that he is up to the job. Harris, there's been reporting from Politico that longtime friends have expressed similar concerns. But the Washington Post, we'll get a little more into this in a bit, they did a really interesting breakdown where they went and interviewed 130 Democrats from across the country, all the demographics that came together to support Biden, so suburban women, black voters, Latino voters, and they found a depressed attitude among many of them, including among young voters. We know young voters broke for Biden by 24%. Their turnout increased by 9%. Here's what one young voter said about Biden's age. He likes putting on glasses and eating ice cream. Does that get people out? Asked Eli Tarscovy, a graduate student and president of the Campus Area Neighborhood Association. When you look at Biden, you say, that's my grandpa.
My grandpa was diabetic, so he didn't eat nearly as much sugar as Joe Biden does. Look, maybe it's his ego. Has anybody considered that this isn't about Democrats who are kind of pushing him out there as like a Manchurian candidate type situation, and that this is his ego? He promised that he would kind of get the party going and that he'd step back and basically wouldn't run for a second term. And now all of a sudden, he's doing that. He's been telegraphing he was going to do this for months. I don't know who didn't think he wasn't going to run.
Right.
Right? I mean, I didn't know if it was going to be on a Tuesday or a Friday, but we all knew it was coming. What if it's his narcissistic attitude about the office because he's been around for 50 years? He just can't let go. Why is that bad for the country? Because we need new ideas. Even people inside his own party know that. But they're not having the same kind of conflict with an aging Biden that they're having with aging women inside their party.
Great
Dianne
point.
Feinstein, John Fetterman in Pennsylvania was gone longer than she's been gone, didn't have a problem with that. Biden was in the basement or in Delaware for more than a third of his presidency so far. Don't have a problem with that. The gaffes, the minor incursion as Russia moves into Ukraine and so on and so forth. I mean, so many things have happened. Maybe this is more about him. Maybe he's a stubborn old grandpa.
It might be. And then, David, there's the small problem of enthusiasm within his party. Check this out. Washington Post, again, across 8 national polls in 2022 and 23, an average of 38% of Democrats want Biden to be the nominee, while a 57% majority wants someone else. During Trump's first term, an average of 73% of Republicans wanted him to be the GOP nominee, and 75% of Democrats wanted Obama. That's a big disparity. Only 38% of your party wants you, compared to 70% for Obama and for Trump.
Take everything Harris just said. Thank you so much. No, look, for years I've called them on my radio, those who are waiting for their hours in the rotunda, these politicians that stay in D.C. till they get their 24 hours in the rotunda and they get their monumental casket viewing and they leave. Sadly, if you look at the history of long-running politicians, that seems to be where they go. You're right. He wanted that title from the day he entered the U.S. Senate, from the first time he ran for president. Didn't matter if he was kicked out for plagiarism. he was going to announce, because he believes this is his title. He's an amoral elitist politician who's outside of the parties, to your thing, and more into the Biden camp. Look at the Biden family. Look at how they've set themselves up over the years. He says whatever is necessary in any circumstance, whether running against, when you look at the VP race, when Romney was running, they're going to put y'all in chains. No matter what Biden does, he says it in one room this afternoon and another room tomorrow afternoon, and he's making a play with all of the unions so they can combine the votes, whether it be the federal government workers, AFGE, the CTU. Look at Chicago. Look at what he's doing across the board. It's all about Biden's reelection, and it's nothing about the country.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Emily, interestingly, there was a New York Times piece that talked about the kind of the problem Biden could have with age-related mishaps. And what they mean by this is they say, you know, he stumbled down the stairs of Air Force One for, you know, during his first 2 years, or he fell off a bicycle. But that takes added context when you are a presidential candidate. You remember Hillary Clinton stumbling into the van after a 9/11 memorial she attended, and how that was just magnified. Well, Reuters assures us of this. Gone will be the aversion to public events, large and small, likely replaced by traditional campaign stops at diners, factories, and union halls with handshakes, selfies, and crowds of people. That apparently is going to be the new Biden campaign. Out of the basement, out in the public. Do you buy it?
No, I don't, because we've seen the exact opposite from him as president this entire time. And if he eschews the routine, then why do we think he's going to embrace the active all of a sudden? In the 100 years since Calvin Coolidge held that office, only Reagan and Nixon have held as few pressers as this president had. Multiple times, he has absolutely sort of bucked tradition. Just in Ireland last week, you always hold a traditional abroad press conference when you travel, such he didn't in Ireland. The other day, the Colombian president joined him at the White House. Then he, by himself, the Colombian president, stood in front of the microphones in front of the West Wing, because Biden apparently had something better to do. Since Reagan, Reagan held 54. He's granted less than that. Contrast that with your boss, who held 202, or Obama, which gave 275. And here's the thing, you know, remember when he was campaigning the first time, how his press secretary, then campaign spokesperson, assured us he's going to bring transparency and truth back to the government. How can that be possible when he won't even dip into traditional communication? And keep in mind how the White House has spun it, right? They say, well, it's because he wants to advance messaging to young people in the ways that they accept, right? It's through TikTok and stuff. And not just briefings, but the briefings and those communications, that's what gets disseminated and amplified throughout the non-traditional routes. And keep in mind again, so he doesn't have time to stand next to the Colombian president, but he had time to interview with Drew Barrymore, Jason Bateman, Al Roker, just to name a few. And recall that Drew Barrymore's first question to him was whether Mr. Biden was giving a good gift to his wife. So I, any day and twice on Sunday, will accept and appreciate the normal press course questioning of this president. I don't think he's going to embrace anything like that in terms of a cadence for a campaign. You know, Politico tells us there were two camps in Biden's inner circle. There was the one saying, wait till the fall, go be president, walk through Ukraine, go to Ireland, you know, go to Japan, as he's doing. And there was the other camp that said, no, declare now. We need the money, and when you have more months to raise money, you have a better chance at fundraising $1 billion plus, as he did last time. Where do you stand?
And also, he's already the incumbent, right? So I don't really see the point in waiting when he's already the incumbent president. He's, you know, running again, so why wait, right? So that also, you know, we're talking about a guy who had to be escorted away by the Easter Bunny. So I think the idea of trying to contain the candidate and do the base, why not replicate the basement strategy when it worked in 2020? So I think they're actually smart to keep him from the public. But look, I'm 38 years old. I've worked in politics throughout my adult career. I've never been more worried about the country. You know, if you go back to past elections I've worked on, it felt like it was about politics. Now it feels like it's about the survival of our republic. I mean, you look at every issue that we're facing, whether it's the economy, you know, 24 straight losses for income, for, you know, families taking a pay cut. The loss of equivalent of $7,400 for families under Joe Biden. You look at the world stage, the fact that we're on the cusp of a potential world war. We've had to evacuate 4 embassies. You know, and then you look at the cultural front as well. Some of these things that kids are being exposed to that we're supposed to be protecting them from. So, you know, and loss of freedom as well. Forced vaccinations, the DOJ and the FBI being weaponized against us as conservatives. So I guess I'm just worried about the survival of the nation. And I really, honest to God, do not think that we can take any more of this from Joe Biden.
I think you're exactly right about that. And it is up to the Republican nominee to crystallize what you just said.
Yes.
Get rid of the noise, get rid of the name calling, and just crystallize the moment we're at, the cultural tipping point and the choice that voters have.
Exactly.
And then they'll be successful.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.